Matthew's day began like any other, at his customs post. Little did he know that an encounter with Jesus that day would change everything, and his life would never be the same. We hear that he's sitting at his customs post. Jesus comes over to him and says, "Follow me." And immediately he leaves what he's doing, gets up, and follows him. How could Matthew have known in his heart enough to make that decision, to change his life so radically at that moment? The moment of encounter is important and is real, but there is doubtless much that came beforehand, and that everything in Matthew's life up to that point had prepared him for that encounter with Jesus. I was thinking about this in terms of my own vocation to the priesthood. There was a moment of encounter when I knew deep in my heart that God was calling me to be a priest. But before that, there was so much that went before. The example of my wonderful parents and their faith and example. I tell a story of being in church with my mother when I was about 5 years old, and she pointed to one of the altar servers and said, "Jimmy, do you want to do that when you get big?" And I said, "No." I said, "I want to be the big guy who gives you something to eat." So those were the prophetic words that manifested themselves at my ordination many years later. The influence of many priests who I saw living joyfully their vocations, the religious women who taught me in school and who were such an example of faithfulness and devotion to God. But then the moment of encounter came, and I knew that the Lord was calling me to this ministry, to this priesthood, and there was not a doubt in my mind. And I knew that God was granting me at that moment the deepest desire of my heart. The moments of encounter, those moments of beginning, are times of great clarity. Times when we know exactly what our life is about. But we can sometimes get distracted on the journey and lose sight of what is truly precious and truly important. Those moments of beginning are times of great clarity, as are ending times. 2 years ago in June, my beloved father died. And for the 5 or 6 days leading up to his death, my mother and siblings and I had the privilege of caring for him. I celebrated Mass at his bedside, and when he could no longer eat, I was able to give him the Eucharist by dipping my finger in the precious blood and putting it in his mouth. We prayed around his bed as God called him home. And at that beautiful moment, even in the sadness, what is truly precious in life became crystal clear. Our relationship with God and our relationship with the people that God has given us to love. In those moments, all of the extraneous falls away, and what is truly precious comes to the fore. The last 6 months have been like none that we have ever experienced in our lives. And the pandemic has had so many ramifications that almost no aspect of life has been left untouched. Perhaps one of the graces emerging from this difficult time of separation and deprivation is that as extraneous things are stripped away, once again what is truly precious comes to the fore. How vital and precious our relationship with God is, and how we are called to bring God's light into the world, into our troubled, fractured, hate-filled world, to bring that light of Christ to those who so long to experience it. Jesus calls us, and calls us not just once, but daily, with that invitation that he extended to Matthew, follow me. So let's follow him and keep our eyes focused on what is truly precious.